The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor. Amara froze mid-step, the tray trembling in her hands as every head in the restaurant turned toward her table. But the glass hadn't slipped from her grip. Kelvin had thrown it. "Are you even listening to me?" His voice cut through the elegant chatter like a blade. "I said we're done. Finished. Over." The other diners pretended not to stare, but their phones were already out, cameras angled discreetly. Amara's throat tightened. This couldn't be happening. Not here. Not during her shift at Lagos's most exclusive restaurant where one mistake could cost her everything. "Kelvin, please." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "Can we talk about this outside?" He laughed loud and cruel. "Outside? So you can beg me in private?" "No, Amara. Everyone here needs to know what you are. A waitress. A nobody. You'll be serving tables until you're old and gray, and I refuse to waste another day pretending you have a future." Heat flooded her cheeks. The manager was watching from across the room, his expression dark with disapproval. She needed this job. Her mother's medication depended on it. Her rent was already 3 days late. "I gave you 2 years, Kelvin continued, standing now, straightening his designer suit. 2 years waiting for you to become somebody. But you're still here wearing that cheap uniform, smelling like kitchen grease. My new girlfriend? She's a lawyer. That's the kind of woman a man like me deserves." The words hit like physical blows. Amara blinked rapidly, refusing to let the tears fall. Not here. Not in front of these people who already looked at her like she was invisible. Kelvin tossed a few bills on the table, not enough to cover his meal, and walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click that felt like thunder. For a moment, Amara stood paralyzed, aware of every whisper, every pitying glance. Then her legs moved automatically, carrying her toward the kitchen, toward anywhere she could hide. "Miss Okafor." The voice stopped her cold. Come. Accented with something European she couldn't quite place. She turned slowly. The man at table 7 had been sitting there for over an hour, barely touching his wine, watching everything with the stillness of a predator. He was perhaps in his early 40s, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from stone. His suit probably cost more than she made in 6 months. "Yes, sir?" Her voice cracked despite her best effort. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Sit." "I can't. I'm working and I..." "Sit." It wasn't a request this time. Something in his tone made her obey. She sank into the chair, aware of her manager's furious gaze burning into her back. This would definitely get her fired. The man studied her with eyes so dark they were almost black. "What's your name?" "Amara." "Amara." He repeated it like he was tasting the syllables. "Do you know what I noticed tonight?" She shook her head, unable to speak. "You served 17 tables. You smiled at every customer even when they snapped their fingers at you like you were a dog. You apologized when a man grabbed your wrist too tightly. And when that boy humiliated you, you didn't scream or throw something back. You tried to protect him from embarrassment." He leaned forward slightly. "You have strength he will never understand." Tears threatened again, but for a different reason now. "Never cry in front of people who enjoy your pain," he said quietly. "They don't deserve the satisfaction." "Who are you?" Amara whispered. He stood, dropping several crisp bills on the table, far more than his meal required. Then he placed a small white card beside them. "Someone who recognizes value when he sees it." Before she could respond, he was gone, moving through the restaurant with 2 men in dark suits materializing from nowhere to flank him. The other diners parted automatically, some with fear in their eyes, others with recognition. Amara picked up the card with shaking fingers. No name. Just a phone number and 7 words in elegant script. "For when you need power." The manager appeared at her elbow. "My office. Now." She pocketed the card and followed him, knowing what was coming. The next week passed in a blur of humiliation. The manager hadn't fired her immediately, but he'd cut her hours and given her worst shifts. Her co-workers whispered whenever she entered a room. Someone had recorded Kelvin's outburst and posted it online. The views were climbing. Worse, she'd seen Kelvin twice since that night. Once with his arm around her former friend Chioma, both of them laughing outside a club Amara could never afford. Once more when he texted her at 2 in the morning, "You could have been something if you'd tried harder." She deleted the message but couldn't delete the words from her mind. Now she stood in her tiny apartment, staring at the card she'd retrieved from her purse. The number seemed to pulse in the dim light. She Googled it, of course. Found nothing. Asked around carefully. No one knew anything, but everyone had theories, each more frightening than the last. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother's nurse. Medication running low. Can you send money by Friday? Friday was 3 days away. Her bank account had $43. Amara picked up the card. Put it down. Picked it up again. The decision was made before she could talk herself out of it. She dialed. He answered on the first ring. Amara. Her breath caught. How did you know it was me? I've been waiting for your call. Pause. What happened? Nothing. Everything. I don't know. The words tumbled out. I shouldn't have called. I don't even know why I. Where are you? She told him the address, then immediately regretted it. This was insane. Dangerous. Everything her mother had warned her about. Stay there. I'm coming. The line went dead. 20 minutes later, headlights swept across her window. Amara peered through the curtain to see a black Mercedes idling below, its engine purring like a satisfied cat. The man from the restaurant stood beside it, somehow looking even more imposing in the dim streetlight. She grabbed her keys and hurried down before he could come up. Before the neighbors could start asking questions she couldn't answer. He opened the car door for her without a word. She slid in, noting the leather seats, the tinted windows, the second man in the driver's seat who didn't turn around. Drive, the man said, settling beside her. To Amara he added, you look tired. I haven't been sleeping well. Because of the boy? Because I lost my job today. The words came out flat. The manager said I was causing too much drama. Bad for business. He was quiet for a moment, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. Tell me his name. It doesn't matter now. It matters to me. Something in his tone made her shiver. I don't even know your name, she said instead. Luciano. He extended his hand. Luciano Rossi. She shook it, his palm warm and rough with old scars. Italian? My mother was from here, from Lagos. She worked as a maid for wealthy families until she met my father. His expression was unreadable. She taught me to recognize strength in unexpected places. The car glided through the city, moving away from her neighborhood toward the affluent areas she'd only seen from bus windows. Where are we going? Amara asked. I have a proposition for you. I'm not. She stopped, heat flooding her face. I don't do that kind of work. For the first time, something that might have been amusement flickered across his face. Neither do I. I'm offering you a job, Amara. A real one. The car pulled up outside a building that looked like it belonged in a European city. Sleek glass and steel, with discreet security and a doorman who nodded respectfully as they passed. Inside, Luciano led her through a restaurant unlike any she'd seen. Intimate booze. Soft lighting. The kind of place where deals were made and secrets were kept. This is my establishment, he said. I need someone I can trust to manage the private dining area. Someone who understands service but also discretion. Why me? Because you didn't break when that boy tried to destroy you in public. Because you protected your dignity even when he had none. Because I watched you for 3 hours that night, and I saw how you treated every person with respect even when they gave you none. He turned to face her fully. And because I think you're tired of serving people who don't deserve you. Amara's heart hammered. What if I say no? Then my driver takes you home and we never speak again. But you call me Amara. Which means part of you already knows you need to leave your old life behind. She thought of Kelvin's cruel laughter. Her mother's medication. The empty apartment waiting for her. The job applications that went nowhere. What's the catch? She asked. The catch is that my world isn't safe. The people who come here, the business I conduct, it's not always legal. You'll see things. Hear things. You can never speak about them. His dark eyes held hers. But I protect what's mine. And if you work for me, you'll be under my protection. No one will touch you. No one will hurt you. That's my promise. And if I want to leave? You can leave anytime. I'm not a prison warden, Amara. I'm offering you a choice. She took a deep breath. When do I start? The smile that crossed his face was small but genuine. Tomorrow. The next morning, Amara arrived at Luciano's establishment at 9 as instructed. A woman named Rosa met her, older with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. You're the new girl, Rosa said, looking her up and down. Mr. Rossi doesn't usually take personal interest in hires. You must be special. I'm just a waitress. Not anymore. Rosa handed her a garment bag. Change into this. Your old uniform, you can throw it away. In the changing room, Amara unzipped the bag and gasped. The dress was elegant, professional but beautifully tailored. Deep burgundy silk with long sleeves and a modest neckline. When she put it on, she barely recognized herself. Rosa nodded with approval. Better. Now some rules. The main restaurant handles regular customers. You work upstairs in the private lounge. VIP clients only. You serve, you listen, you forget everything you hear. Understood? Yes. Mr. Rossi's office is on the 3rd floor. You don't go there unless summoned. His men will be around. They might look scary, but they won't bother you. You're under the boss's protection now. Rosa's expression softened slightly. That means something here. It means you're safe. The morning passed in training. Amara learned the layout, the menu, the specific preferences of regular clients. She met some of Luciano's men. Marco, who had kind eyes despite his intimidating size. Paolo, who barely spoke but watched everything. And Antonio, who joked that she should call him Tony because nobody can pronounce Italian names right in this city. Luciano himself appeared at noon, moving through his establishment like a shadow. Men straightened when he passed. Conversations lowered. He checked on everything, noticing the smallest details, but when his eyes found Amara, something in them softened. How is she doing? He asked Rosa. Quick learner. She'll be fine. He nodded once, then disappeared into his office. That evening, Amara served her first clients. A group of businessmen in expensive suits, discussing deals she didn't understand. They treated her with courtesy, probably because they knew whose establishment this was. She was clearing their table when she heard raised voices from the private room at the end of the hall. Luciano's voice, calm but edged with steel. Another man, angry and aggressive. Marco appeared at her elbow. Go downstairs. What's happening? Nothing for you to worry about. Go. She went, but her hands shook as she carried the dishes. This was his world. This was what she'd signed up for. Later, when the establishment closed and the last clients had left, Luciano found her in the kitchen. You did well tonight, he said. Thank you. The man you heard earlier, he was trying to pressure me into a bad deal. He won't be back. Luciano leaned against the counter, looking tired suddenly. Does this frighten you? Yes, Amara admitted. But I've been frightened before. At least here, I feel like someone has my back. His expression shifted, something vulnerable crossing his features before the mask returned. You should go home. Marco will drive you. I can take a bus. No. You work for me now. That means you don't take buses at night. That means you don't walk alone. That means if anyone bothers you, you call me immediately. He handed her a phone, newer and more expensive than her old one. My number is programmed in. Use it. Amara took the phone, overwhelmed. Why are you doing all this? Because you deserve better than what life has given you. And because... He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. Because I see myself in you. Someone who survived when they should have broken. The weeks that followed brought changes Amara had never imagined. Her mother's medication was covered. Her rent was paid. She opened a savings account for the first time in her life. But more than the money, it was the respect that changed her. Here she wasn't invisible. She wasn't just a waitress. She was Amara, Mr. Rossi's personal attendant, and that meant something. The clients learned her name. They asked about her day. They tipped generously, not out of pity but out of genuine appreciation. And Luciano? Luciano was a constant presence, never intrusive but always aware. She'd catch him watching her sometimes, his expression unreadable. He never made advances, never crossed a line, but there was something in the way he looked at her that made her breath catch. She learned things about him too. How he fed the stray cats in the alley behind the establishment. How he paid for his men's children to go to good schools. How he visited an old woman in the neighborhood every Sunday, bringing groceries and sitting with her for hours. That's Anna, Rosa explained once. She took care of Mr. Rossi when he first came to Lagos as a boy. His mother had died, his father was back in Italy. Anna gave him a home when no one else would. Amara began to see the man behind the reputation. Yes, he was dangerous. Yes, his business walked the line between legal and not. But he was also someone who protected his own, who honored debts, who understood loyalty because he'd lived without it. One evening, after the last client had left, she found him on the rooftop garden, smoking a cigarette and staring at the Lagos skyline. You smoke? She asked, surprised. Bad habit from my youth. I'm trying to quit. He stubbed it out. But some nights, the past feels closer than others. She joined him at the railing. Want to talk about it? My mother died when I was 12. Cancer. We couldn't afford treatment. His voice was matter-of-fact, but she heard the old pain underneath. My father came back, took me to Italy. He was connected, you understand? Part of organizations you don't ask about. He wanted me to follow him, but I couldn't. I came back here to Lagos to her home. Built my own path. I'm sorry about your mother. She was strong. Like you. He turned to look at her. She taught me that power isn't about money or violence. It's about knowing your worth and never letting anyone convince you you're less than you are. Their eyes met and held. Amara felt something shift between them, subtle but undeniable. Luciano, she started, but he shook his head. Not yet, he said quietly. You're still healing. And I won't take advantage of that. Before she could respond, his phone rang. He answered, his expression darkening. When? Pause. I'll handle it. He hung up and turned to her. Go home. Now. Marco will take you. What's wrong? Nothing for you to worry about. But his hand briefly touched her shoulder. Trust me, Amara. Go. She went, but fear gnawed at her the entire drive home. The next day Kelvin showed up. Amara was arranging flowers in the main dining room when she heard his voice at the entrance. Loud. Drunk. Demanding to see her. She froze, the vase trembling in her hands. Marco was there in seconds, blocking Kelvin's path. Sir, you need to leave. I'm not going anywhere until I talk to Amara. Kelvin shoved at Marco, who didn't budge. She thinks she's too good for me now? Working at some fancy place? I made her who she is. Other clients were staring. Rosa appeared, her face tight with anger. Call Mr. Rossi, she told Paolo, who nodded and disappeared. Kelvin spotted Amara. There you are. Living large while I'm struggling. You owe me, Amara. After everything I did for you. You need to leave, Amara said, finding her voice. Now. Or what? You'll have your new boyfriend kick me out? He laughed, mean and bitter. Everyone knows what you're doing here. Sleeping with the boss. That's the only way trash like you gets ahead. The words hit like poison, but before Amara could respond, Luciano appeared. He didn't shout. Didn't threaten. He simply walked up to Kelvin and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. You're in my establishment, Luciano said quietly. Insulting someone under my protection. I suggest you leave before you regret it. Kelvin, drunk and stupid, tried to push past him. Who the hell do you? He didn't finish. Marco and Paolo had him by the arms, lifting him off his feet. They carried him out like he weighed nothing, his protests fading as the door closed. Luciano turned to Amara. Are you all right? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Rosa, take her upstairs to my office. Make her tea. He looked at the other clients, his expression smooth and professional again. I apologize for the disturbance. Your meals tonight are complimentary. Then he was gone, following his men outside. In Luciano's office, Amara sat on the leather sofa, hands shaking around a teacup she couldn't drink. Through the window she could see Luciano talking to Kelvin beside a car. His men stood close ready. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she saw Kelvin's face go pale. Saw him nod rapidly. Saw him get into a taxi and disappear. When Luciano returned 20 minutes later, his knuckles were bruised. What did you do? Amara whispered. I explained the consequences of bothering you again. He understood. Luciano sat beside her, taking her cold hands in his warm ones. He won't come back, Amara. I promise you that. I don't want you to hurt people because of me. I didn't hurt him. I educated him. There's a difference. His thumb traced circles on her palm. You're under my protection now. That's not just words. That's a promise I intend to keep. Why? The question burst out. Why do you care so much? I'm nobody. I'm just... You're not nobody. His voice was fierce suddenly. You're the woman who held her head high when someone tried to break her. You're the woman who smiles at my men and remembers their children's names. You're the woman who brings food to the strays in the alley when you think no one's watching. He cupped her face gently. You're everything, Amara. And anyone who can't see that is a fool. Tears spilled over, but this time they weren't from pain. His thumbs wiped them away carefully. Luciano, she whispered. I know. Too soon. I'm sorry. He started to pull back, but she grabbed his wrists. No. Not too soon. Just unexpected. They sat like that for a long moment, the city lights twinkling beyond the window, something fragile and new building between them. Then his phone rang, shattering the moment. He answered, listened, and his expression went cold. When? Pause. Gather everyone. I'm coming. He stood, already moving toward the door. What's wrong? Amara asked. Business. Stay here with Rosa until I get back. Don't leave this building. He stopped at the door. Promise me. I promise. But promises, Amara would learn, were sometimes impossible to keep. The next afternoon she was leaving through the back exit when a van pulled up. 3 men got out, moving fast. She turned to run, but something hit her head and the world went dark. She woke in a warehouse, her head pounding, her wrists tied to a chair. 2 men stood guard, neither looking at her. A third man entered, older, with a scar running down his face. "Ms. Okafor," he said pleasantly. "Don't be afraid. You're simply insurance." "Insurance for what?" "Luciano Rossi has been problematic for my business. Territorial disputes, you understand. He needs to learn that his protection comes with consequences." The man smiled. "We've sent him a message. He has 24 hours to withdraw from the docks, or we start sending you back to him in pieces." Terror flooded through her, but she forced herself to breathe. Luciano would come. She knew he would. "He won't negotiate," she said. "Then you'll die, and he'll learn a valuable lesson about caring for things he can't protect." The hours crawled by. Amara's arms ached. Her head throbbed. But worse than the physical pain was the fear that Luciano might sacrifice his business, his empire, for her. She couldn't let that happen. When the guards changed shift, she tested her bonds. The rope was tight but not expertly tied. She worked at it slowly, feeling the fibers give slightly. She was still working when gunfire erupted outside. The guards rushed to the windows. Amara pulled harder, feeling skin tear, not caring. The rope gave and her hands were free. She hit the ground as the warehouse door exploded inward. Luciano came through like an avenging angel, gun in hand, his men behind him. The fight was brutal and fast. Amara covered her ears, squeezing her eyes shut. Then strong hands were lifting her. Luciano's voice in her ear, "I've got you. You're safe." He carried her out of the warehouse, past bodies she didn't look at, into a car that sped away before she could process what had happened. At a safe house, a doctor checked her over while Luciano paced like a caged animal. His shirt was torn, blood on his sleeve, his blood or someone else's, she couldn't tell. "She's fine," the doctor said finally. "Bruising and a mild concussion, but she'll recover." When they were alone, Luciano sat beside her on the bed, his hands shaking as they touched her face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "This is my fault. I should have protected you better. You came for me. I would have burned the city down to find you." His voice broke. "Do you understand that? I would have destroyed everything. You could have been killed. I was dead long before I met you, Amara. Just going through motions. But you made me feel human again. You made me want to be better." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you. I know it's too soon, I know you might not feel the same, but I need you to know that you mean everything to me." Amara's heart felt too big for her chest. She kissed him, soft and tentative, and felt him freeze in surprise before he kissed her back, gentle despite the violence he'd just committed. When they broke apart, she whispered, "I love you too." His smile was beautiful and broken. "You're insane. Maybe. But I'm yours." He held her through the night, both of them unwilling to let go, both knowing that tomorrow would bring questions and consequences they'd have to face. But tonight they had each other. 3 months later, Amara stood in front of the restaurant where she'd once worked, the keys heavy in her hand. The previous owner had decided to sell, and somehow, through a series of transactions she suspected Luciano had orchestrated, she'd been able to buy it. She was transforming it into something new. A place that served real food at prices working people could afford. A place that treated staff with dignity. The bell above the door chimed and she turned to see Luciano entering, casual in jeans and a sweater, looking younger than she'd ever seen him. "Inspecting your investment?" she teased. "Visiting my favorite restaurateur." He looked around, taking in the changes she'd made. "Your mother would be proud." Tears pricked her eyes. Her mother was doing better now, the good medication finally working. She visited every week and she'd even met Luciano, who she'd immediately tried to feed, declaring him too thin. "You never told me," Amara said. "Did they come back? Those men?" "No. And they won't." His expression darkened briefly. "That particular problem has been resolved permanently." She didn't ask for details. She'd learned that some parts of his world were better left unexamined. "Do you regret it?" Luciano asked quietly. "Choosing this life?" Amara walked to him, taking his scarred hands in hers. "I regret nothing. You gave me power when I had none. You protected me when I was vulnerable. You loved me when I couldn't love myself. You did that last part on your own. No. We did it together." She kissed him softly. "I used to serve pain, Luciano. Every day in that old life. But now Now I serve power. And love. And hope. He smiled and it transformed his face into something beautiful. Then I guess we both found what we were looking for. What was that? Each other. The restaurant opened a week later to a full house. Amara moved through the dining room in her element, greeting customers, checking on her staff, making sure everything was perfect. At the corner table, the same table where Luciano had first spoken to her, sat the man who'd changed everything. He caught her eye and raised his glass slightly, a private toast to new beginnings. She smiled back, her heart full. Once she'd been dumped in public, humiliated, broken. Once she'd thought she had no future worth fighting for. But that girl was gone, replaced by a woman who knew her worth. A woman who'd found strength in unexpected places. A woman who'd been claimed not as property, but as an equal, by a man who saw her not as she was, but as she could be. From dumped to desired. From waitress to owner. From nobody to somebody who mattered. And if that wasn't a story worth telling, she didn't know what was. As the night wound down and the last customers left, Luciano helped her lock up. They stood together in the empty restaurant, her head on his shoulder, both of them tired but content. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me when I was invisible. For protecting me when I was vulnerable. For loving me when I didn't think I was worth loving." He kissed the top of her head. "Thank you for giving me a reason to be more than what I was. For showing me that power isn't just about control, it's about knowing when to let someone in." They walked out together into the Lagos night, hands intertwined, two broken people who'd found wholeness in each other. Behind them, the restaurant lights dimmed, but the sign above the door glowed bright. Amara's Place, where everyone is welcome. It was more than a restaurant. It was a promise. A declaration. A testament to what happened when you refused to stay broken. The future stretched ahead, uncertain and probably dangerous given Luciano's world. But they'd face it together. And that, Amara thought as they drove into the night, was all that mattered. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales of love, transformation and second chances. Drop a comment below telling us your thoughts. What would you have done in Amara's position? And smash that like button if you believe everyone deserves a second chance at happiness. Your support helps us bring more amazing stories to life. Until next time, remember, you're never too broken to be loved, and you're never too lost to find your way home.